It's hot out there, but let's blow them off the line of scrimmage.
For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory.
The waters around Pittsburgh have been turbid and murky of late as unemployment and layoffs in the steel mills have been foremost in the headlines of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. But for the first time in 2 years, these proud Western Pennsylvanians can forget about all that, because while the mills may be shut down, Three Rivers Stadium is open for business, and the mighty Pittsburgh Steelers are in the playoffs once more. For the first time since 1976, the air-minded San Diego Chargers visit Pittsburgh, where the Steelers, led by their maniacal fans, have not lost a postseason game in a decade. The Steelers' 2-year absence from the playoffs is over. Gone are Mean Joe Green, Mad Dog Dwight White, and Rocky Blyer. But the man who made those awesome Steelers win is still around. And that leader is quarterback Terry Bradshaw, who threw for 17 touchdowns this year to tie for the AFC lead. Bradshaw has had the hot hand of late, and Coach Chuck Noll, who has the highest postseason winning percentage of all active NFL coaches, knows that his Steelers must be up to today's stiff challenge. That challenge comes from the San Diego Chargers, molded by the intense Don Coryell, a team that is perhaps the most incredible offensive machine to ever take a football field. This season, Air Coryell has averaged over 450 yards per game, and in winning 5 of their last 6, San Diego scored 229 points and racked up more than 500 yards in total offense 3 times. Dan Fouts is the trigger man, and today the NFL's most prolific passer will once again throw to Kellen Winslow and Wes Chandler, who finished 1-2 in the AFC in receiving. It's time to begin the 16-team Super Bowl elimination tournament. The strike is a faded memory, and the road to Super Bowl 17 has been laid before us, and what a way to start. It's the Chargers and the Steelers in the playoffs on the NFL Game of the Week. Critics seem to think that the San Diego Chargers are the best team ever to never get to a Super Bowl. This is their 4th straight year in the playoffs, and certainly they're a bit perturbed at never getting to the NFL's final showdown, the Super Bowl. Critics have also said that playing in cold weather is detrimental to the intricate Charger attack. Whether it was the weather, playoff jitters, or just bad luck, San Diego began today's contest exactly the way they didn't want to. Number 21, James Brooks, never did get the handle on the opening kickoff, and just 12 ticks into the playoffs, Pittsburgh's Gary Ruff cradled a 7-0 Steeler lead. The Chargers figured this game would come down to a matter of seconds, but the last 12, not the first 12. Brooks, a second-year player from Auburn, warmed up without gloves and found the 33-degree weather to his liking, but he decided to try the gloves anyway. He took the gloves off for the next kickoff, but again, Brooks looked as though he was trying to field a greased pig. What a way to start a playoff game. Fortunately for San Diego and James Brooks, the Chargers recovered on the 1. After the game, Brooks would issue one simple statement: "I don't care how cold it gets, I'll never wear gloves again." Dan Fouts developed a hot hand for San Diego when they finally took over. Number 89, Wes Chandler, caught 49 passes this strike-shortened season and was the only receiver in football to total more than 1,000 yards receiving. Behind the passing of Fouts and the catching of Chandler, San Diego cut Pittsburgh's lead to 7-3. A 12-play drive resulted in a Rolf Bernerschke field goal, and Fouts' counterpart, Terry Bradshaw, got the Steelers moving midway through the first quarter. Number 86, Jim Smith, rumbled 40 yards for the biggest gain in the half. And then Terry looked for veteran John Stallworth in the end zone. Bradshaw would hit on 13 of 15 in the first 30 minutes, missing on only 2. Terry then called on Franco Harris, a man destined for the Hall of Fame, who is perhaps the greatest clutch playoff performer in history. Franco Harris has rushed for more postseason yards than anyone ever. He thought he had scored yet another playoff touchdown here, but the referees ruled that Franco had come up just short of the end zone. With the terrible towels waving, the Three Rivers mob screaming, and Franco ranting, the referees calmly marked the ball a yard shy of the end zone. Calmly and coolly, Terry Bradshaw called his own number. Bradshaw tunneled under his left guard, Craig Wolfley, and the Steelers assumed a 14-3 lead with 5 minutes left in the first quarter. With the terrible towels waving and the Three Rivers mob screaming, the referees ruled it a touchdown. This time, the only difference was that it was number 76, Keith Ferguson, that was doing the ranting. Trailing by 11, ranting would do San Diego no good whatsoever. The passing of Dan Fouts, however, now that's a more effective way of biting into a lead. Chuck Muncie's power running and Charlie Joyner's clutch catching helped move San Diego downfield. But more importantly, it put James Brooks into a position to atone for his pair of game-opening fumbles. Brooks's 18-yard touchdown run was truly an outstanding effort. This time it was not the absence of gloves, but the presence of mind, balance, and determination of a young runner that took center stage. A repeat shows that Brooks got a great block from number 63, Doug Wilkerson, and ran over number 31, Donnie Shell, for the score. Brooks scored on the first play of the second quarter, and the Steelers' lead had shrunk to 14-10. It was shortly thereafter that San Diego began their longest, most time-consuming drive of the half, a marathon 17-play journey highlighted by a 30-yard Kellen Winslow reception. San Diego ate up 6.5 minutes of the clock by using the patented Coryell air attack. In such an attack, Fouts throws to open areas as his receivers read the coverage and adjust their pass routes accordingly. Fouts found Kellen Winslow once more in such an open area, but then suddenly San Diego self-destructed. Mel Blount, number 47, recovered Winslow's fumble on the Steelers' 7, and San Diego's epic drive had come to a tragic end. Oftentimes, mistakes make or break playoff teams. This was the second turnover of the half for the Chargers, and the first resulted in a Pittsburgh score. Fortunately for San Diego, their Russian roulette style of play did not hurt them this time, when Bradshaw threw deep looking for Lynn Swan. Number 30, Bruce Laird, came over from Baltimore and has proven to be a key acquisition. Still, San Diego has surrendered a whopping 361 yards per game this year. But this time, Laird stopped the Steelers cold, and Dan Fouts went to work with 2 minutes left. Wes Chandler caught his 7th of the day for a neat 100 yards in the first half. And 2 plays later, Fouts fired his team to their first lead of the game. Number 85, Eric Sievers, is overshadowed by starting tight end Kellen Winslow. But he's a sure-handed pass catcher, especially in the end zone. And his catch was made possible when he cut across the grain to become wide open in the end zone. The Chargers had fallen behind after just seconds into the game. But now with just 28 seconds left in the half, they had cruised out to a 17-14 lead. The half ended with San Diego up by 3, and there was one thing for sure. Jack Lambert does not like to be behind, especially in the playoffs. The first half had seen the Chargers make up an 11-point deficit and assume a 17-14 lead. Now is the time for the Steelers to mount a comeback rush of their own. Beginning from his own 26-yard line, quarterback Terry Bradshaw put together a string of pass completions that would carry throughout the third period. Benny Cunningham, Lynn Swan, and John Stallworth made Bradshaw look like the East Coast counterpart of Dan Fouts. The suddenly pass-happy Steelers marched 72 yards in 7 plays. But it was not all smooth sailing, especially when running back Frank Pollard crash-landed at the 2-yard line. Pittsburgh concluded their coast-to-coast flight with yet another pass, this one to tight end Benny Cunningham, number 89. Another look at the score reveals nothing tricky, nothing deceptive. No play action, no misdirection. Just a simple toss to a wide-open Cunningham that put the Steelers back in front by 4 points. One of the many factors that contribute to the success of San Diego's sticky-fingered passing game is the willingness of all Charger receivers, including Wes Chandler, to go over the middle, and the willingness to pay the price for the privilege. Despite the beating taken by Chandler, both he and Kellen Winslow accounted for over 100 yards each on the day. Midway through the period, the Chargers found themselves at the Steelers' 23-yard line. At that point, they did something very unusual, something quite out of character. They ran the ball 4 straight times. Then, within easy field goal range, the Chargers elected to run the ball again on 4th and 1 at the Steeler 14. It appeared that most of the Pittsburgh bench had joined the resistance to deny John Cappelletti the single yard and to deny the Chargers a first down. Instead, it became a Pittsburgh first down at their own 14, and Terry Bradshaw picked up where he left off to complete 14 straight passes, 12 for 12 in the third period. After seeking out wide receiver John Stallworth for 20 yards, Bradshaw looked for his most versatile offensive weapon, Franco Harris, number 32. Harris ranks number 3 on the all-time NFL rushing chart, and in his 12th pro season, he is not beyond attaining new and different goals. This season, he became the first Steeler ever to lead the team in both rushing and receiving. While Franco continued to add to his impressive lifetime totals, John Stallworth accounted for the bulk of the yardage on this scoring drive. Stallworth, number 82, caught 3 passes for 58 yards on this series alone, the last for a 14-yard score. Terry Bradshaw may be losing his hair, but not his touch or his rifle arm. His bullet to Stallworth extended the Steeler lead to 11 points. The Steelers appeared well on their way to their first playoff win since the Super years. That appearance was deceptive. It took a relatively unknown Charger to turn the tide. He was number 27, Jeff Allen, a second-year cornerback who provided the crucial turning point in the game. Allen's interception return to the Pittsburgh 29-yard line gave San Diego its best field position of the afternoon, and it took the Chargers just 5 plays to cash in. Chuck Muncie's catch and carry covered 12 yards to the Steelers' 17. But when Dan Fouts' next pass headed for the end zone, it seemed that once again the Chargers might find a way to lose the big one. Cornerback Mel Blount, number 47, intercepted the pass. But a defensive holding penalty against the Steelers gave San Diego a second life at the Pittsburgh 12. Then it was the torrid tandem of Fouts and Winslow that put the Chargers a step closer to the long evasive AFC Championship. A repeat of the play shows that Winslow had simply slipped in behind the Steeler linebackers and just in front of the cornerbacks to score the points that edged the Chargers within 4 points with 8.5 minutes to play. All the Chargers needed was to get the ball back one last time. The San Diego defense responded by stifling the Steelers on their next possession and forcing a Pittsburgh punt with just under 4 minutes remaining. It led to the Chargers' final series of the day. After a 16-yard reception by Winslow, San Diego kept the Steeler defense off balance by playing once more out of character, running more than passing. Most of the running was done by number 46, Chuck Muncie. who melted the steel curtain for 126 yards. It was the first time a runner had gained over 100 yards against the Steelers at home in 5 years. More important, Muncie did not fumble once. With the clock winding down to 1 minute and with a 3rd and 7 situation at the Steeler 12, Fouts called the perfect play. A screen pass set to the left for his tight end extraordinaire, Kellen Winslow, who took it in for the winning score. In the face of a Steeler blitz, the perfectly executed misdirection play had everyone going right, while the screen set to the left. When Winslow crossed the goal line, it marked the first time the Chargers had ever beaten the Steelers at Three Rivers Stadium. It was an obvious cause for celebration, however painful. For quarterback Dan Fouts, the 31-28 come-from-behind win was especially exhilarating. The victory was yet another rebuff to the skeptics who have long questioned the character of the San Diego team. The Chargers earned the right to return to Miami this week for a matchup with the Dolphins in the next step up the playoff ladder. For the Steelers, the loss blew out the candles on their 50th anniversary quest for a 5th Super Bowl ring. The one for the thumb will have to wait, at least for another year.